Hello, my name is Frank Caputo and welcome to Health Comes to Mind. This will be a series of 6 programs which will address various areas that will hopefully explain that there is a connection between the mind and the body, which for a long time in Western medicine wasn't recognized, but is now. And over this period of time, hopefully we'll be able to supply you with some information that will allow you to realize that there is a connection and things that you might be able to do to assist you in areas such as addiction, relationships, physical illness. We thank you very much for being here, and we look forward to spending some time with you in the next 6 weeks. Thank you very much. Hello, welcome to Health Comes to Mind. My guest tonight is Chris Tracy, who is the co-founder of One Life Mentoring and Coaching. And basically what I'd like to do is kind of ask Chris exactly what he does. What do you do, Chris?
We are a community-based organization in Connecticut, and we provide therapeutic support services, which is commonly referred to as mentoring, to kids that are receiving DCF services or may not be receiving DCF services. So it's in one of those two capacities where a request by a social worker or family member has requested a mentor to spend time with the child. And generally it is for the purposes that have been outlined in some sort of a case plan with respect to therapeutic treatment goals. Or sometimes maybe it's a family member that just wants someone to bring the child out in the community, spend time with that child, do activities with him or her. So that's really it in a nutshell. Is we provide positive role models to kids that need some support, are looking for someone to spend time with, and it's a professional individual.
So it is therapy, but you don't bring somebody to your office, right? You go to them.
No, we are a community-based organization. We go to wherever the child lives, and we match up the child with a person that we feel would be a good fit for that child based on information that's provided to us initially, and much of that is from her perspective of what the child's interests are and strengths with respect to activities and hobbies. For example, if we have a referral for a child that has a strong interest in playing basketball, then we try to go into our resources of people that we know that really enjoy playing basketball, introduce the two, and then we have kind of a non-traditional therapy that we like to think of it as, where, like you said, it's not in a room, where maybe the child feels like he or she is just being interrogated, but really it happens somewhat informally, if you will. Maybe it'll be in this situation it'd be on the basketball court. So we like to refer to it in layman's terms. It's called like the backdoor approach. So maybe the child is really receiving a type of therapy, if you will, and not even really realizing that it's occurring. So over a basketball game, the beauty of the situation is where the child can express him or herself, and some sort of treatment can be addressed, and goals can be worked towards in an informal setting.
So you have a treatment plan, so to speak, knowing what this child may be looking for, what this child may need. It's not just a case of, I'm going to take you out and we'll play basketball today.
Yes.
And then I'm going to bring you home and then you can go back to mom and dad and everything's going to be fine in your life.
Yes.
There's a treatment plan, and this is something that you would discuss with whoever is contracting you for these services. For example, like you're certified by DCF to do these things, and So you'd be working with them in that case, if that were the case. So it's kind of, like you said, it's therapy, but not, kind of disguised. It's interesting you said non-traditional therapy. I'm looking at therapy now and what therapy was 20 years ago, and traditional therapy today would have been considered non-traditional 20 years ago.
Right.
So what you're doing now is kind of, it looks like it's a new step and kind of expanding things, making things a little easier. That's really good. That's really good. I know some kids are reluctant to this. I got to go to therapy and sit in a room with these people and blah 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 blah.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, it's
No,
definitely. I just want to really emphasize the point that we do not just bring the child to the movies. Just have two people sitting in a movie theater, not engaging, not having a conversation, and then saying, "Okay, Billy, have a nice day. See you next week," because we're different than a mentoring organization that utilizes volunteers. Well, we receive funding, especially, it's going to be either state funding from the Department of Children and Families, or it'll be a family that's paying for this service out of their pocket. So these two situations, they don't want just to pay for a mentor, just to go to McDonald's, and then and where there's no teaching interaction, there's no education or therapy in any way, shape, or form occurring.
The difference between child care and babysitting. Okay, you're doing something more than just.
Our mentors do progress notes that we hold them accountable for every month, and they are with respect to the goals that a social worker, in the case of DCF, has identified that this child needs assistance and support in these specific areas. So the mentor tries to support them in whatever activity they're doing, keeping those goals and that treatment in mind.
And you share this with the parents as part of because they're part of the plan too, right? I mean, the parents are not, part of the whole
Absolutely. Family, and thus the name Department of Children and Families. The family is a very integral part of the equation. Some clients that we've been introduced to, the mentor has not met the family member because sometimes there is no family support in the situation, and thus the need for a mentor.
That's true too.
And thus the need for that mentor to be more involved with the child's life. We have one child we're working with right now, and that's the reason why we were called upon for mentoring services, is to have the mentor come, bring the child out in the community, because there's no one else. If that mentor didn't come, there's a lot of things that child just wouldn't experience because the support's not there. For the private situations, the family is definitely involved.
Okay. It's a situation where I've talked to some people that provide therapy, whether you want to call it traditional or non-traditional, about what you do, and they seem very interested in that, as not as a substitute to it, but as we had talked about before, as an adjunct to it. This is, wow, the kid could really use this and this, because there's just so much you can do in the therapeutic setting. But now you're turning the basketball court into a therapeutic setting. You're whatever area you're in, whatever environment you're in, you're turning that into a therapeutic setting. You're kind of meeting the kid on his own turf. That's a really good thing. I have to ask you this because have you identified with some of the clients that you have substance abuse issues or behavioral health issues, such as maybe depression or things like this, that you have identified and then will bring to the attention of the proper people in order to do that, either the parents or whatever the case may be?
Unfortunately, we have seen a client or two that do struggle with substance abuse issues at an early age, and we definitely communicate on a need-to-know basis. And what that means is, in the case of a DCF case,
you're not a narc. You're doing this for the kid's safety. You're not turning it in anybody. Okay,
no, most definitely. Right. And we try to create that understanding with the child, with the mentor, with the social worker. So there's open lines of communication of family members. We keep those open lines of communication open at all times. Everything is documented. All conversations, interactions, any problem areas or things. If the mentor might suspect that there is some sort of a problem or concern, whether it be depression or whatever the case may be, then, like I said, in those progress notes, the mentor is just documenting anything that he says to the child, what the child says to him or her, and then if there's a problem, it's definitely communicated to the social worker.
And the child knows that this is for his safety and to protect him, not to not to punish him. I know that a lot of kids think they're being punished by having to go to therapy, and I think your approach sounds like something that would be a lot more acceptable to kids, children and adolescents.
And what we believe is a little bit more successful, if you will, because the premise of everything is the mentor developing a professional friendship with that child, developing a rapport and a bond, so that the child ultimately trusts that mentor and the child can feel comfortable confiding in that mentor and opening up and saying something, conveying feelings or problems and issues. And it's not just the child sitting in a room and an adult interrogating him or her.
Right.
It's that professional relationship that allows for ideally progress to occur with respect to whatever the treatment goals are and the problems. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Chris. We're going to break for a little bit, then I'm
Okay.
going to come back with Jay, and then we'll get back together again. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Welcome back to Health Comes to Mind. My next guest tonight is Jay Maya, who is the unit director of the Boys and Girls Club and Family Association of Bristol. I get that right, Jay?
Boys and Girls Club and Family Center of
Family
Bristol.
Center
of Bristol.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Okay. It grows. It grows. Jay, I wanted to ask you a few things tonight.
Sure.
I have to recall a session. I worked at the Boys Club a while back, and when I went there, one of my previous employees from another place asked me what I was doing, and I said I work for the Boys Club, and he said, "Oh, what do you do there? Coach basketball?" And that kind of was the image, of course it's a long time ago, the image of what it is. Kids go in there, they play basketball, they do their thing, and so on and so forth. And I have this feeling that the times have changed quite a bit. And I just kind of want to ask you, what are some of the programs that you have that address needs other than playing basketball?
Yeah.
Anything?
Well, we still do play basketball.
That's good. That's good.
Basketball is always good. One of our sports, fitness, and recreation programs. Just like when you were there, the Boys and Girls Club we're affiliated with Boys and Girls Clubs of America, which is based out of Atlanta, Georgia. And it's what drives us as a staff and our board of directors is the mission and some of the people that National has on their board. The Denzel Washingtons, the Colin Powells, Mario Lopez. There's national spokespersons for Boys and Girls Clubs of America now. So our national organization is doing very well, getting some influential people, around the world involved on a national level. So that, those resources that they give us help us locally. And everything we do falls into, enabling, all kids, especially those who need us most, to realize that, to realize their full potential and as productive, responsible, and caring citizens. So when you talk about basketball, we do sports, fitness, and recreation. That ties into that. How do we incorporate our mission when it comes to, having kids realize their full potential when it comes into sports, fitness, and recreation? We'll do it through basketball. We may do it through volleyball, gymnastics these days, wrestling program. So there's a variety of sports, that we do run. But the key is just the staff, just giving the kids a sense of belonging and a sense of competency, and working with them and making sure we get that they realize that here's your potential, set the goals, and here's how you can get there. Help them realize it, push them along, encourage them to give 100%, play fair and play hard. So that aspect of the club has always been there, but we're just taking some different avenues now so we can meet our mission. Another really thing that I'm excited about the club in general is our technology programs. Kids get to technology in school, but a lot of the kids that we service that need us most, don't really have that access to technology at home. So we feel like we're bridging the digital divide and filling that gap and stuff. So when kids right after school, they come in, they're doing their homework, and after homework they have an option to go to the gym, or they have an option to to experience some technology programs. We have some pretty cool ones too that that are going on nationwide that we're running right now. One of them, a big one, is it's called NetSmart. It's an internet safety program. It's all animated and it's fun for kids, but there's like different missions and games. But some of the games entail some activities where it tells you, you know, if this happens on the internet, you should tell a trusted adult, which is the Boys and Girls Club staff member in that computer lab. So, you know, there's still that sports, fitness, and recreation, but the technology is there. You know, we just had 2 of our teenagers be recognized on a regional level for this photo tech program. So what the kids do with our staff is they come in and we teach them how to, you know, not only take the photos, but learn how to crop them, brighten them up, contrast, do different displays with them. And they sanction through a contest. And a couple of our kids actually won a regional contest, and they're getting ready to enter a national one. And it's called a photo tech, so it's pretty neat.
So the kid that maybe can't jump as high as the other guy or shoot 3-pointers can still come to your place and do something that's going to be helping them, and something that's going to kind of build their self-esteem and
exactly.
show they have some self-worth in areas other than that, which is great. Great. You don't have to be giant. And you know, what you're doing, you're talking about, you know, the physical fitness part of it is, you know, and I know, and a lot of people must know that being a coach is not just telling the guy, you know, hit him hard and hit him low and so on and so forth. There's a lot more to it. It's building the person.
Absolutely.
As
that positive coaching.
Right.
You know, I mean, a lot of our coaches, we train them. They go through workshops with me or, you know, or other staff members on, you know, it's not all about the win, you know.
Yeah.
You know, how many times when, you know, you see kids come from a game or something, the parents, first thing they say is, did you win?
Yeah. That's right.
So what we try to say is, did you
time.
have fun?
That's right.
You know, did you learn?
That's right.
You know, what did you learn?
That's right.
You know, and then during that conversation, the win and loss will come out. But at the club, we try to teach the kids, you know, how do you lose though? How do you really take a loss? Because I hate losing myself personally, but it's the way that you deal with it. You know,
Absolutely.
So I mean, you go hard as you can. Right. You know, give 100%. But when you take that loss, there's certain techniques involved to get yourself ready. Go there and shake hands and say, "Good game." You know, it's a good game.
When you mentioned family, you mentioned the parents. You know, did you win? Did you lose? So on and so forth. Do the parents in your organization, do they get involved a lot with the kids, or do they want to get involved a lot with what the kids are doing? It's not just well, I'm going to drop my kid off and you guys can watch him for a while or something. That's not the case. It's they really get involved.
Yeah, we get both.
You get both.
We get
well,
both.
I'm sure,
yeah, we get both.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we get both. I think because, especially in today's economy, you know, some parents are, you know, let me drop my child off at the club because we know them, we trust them, and let me go put my 3 hours in at a part-time job, then pick them up.
Right.
You know, so you see those situations. You see other situations where parents are in the stands. You know, they're rooting their kids on. You know, they're trying to coach them, and then that's when we come in and say, "We got this." You know,
that's good.
You know, let us do our job.
So you're not a substitute for good parenting. You're
partnership.
Partnership. That's the word we can look for. That's
partnership.
Good. That's good. You know, the reason to say, well, why are we talking about all these things right now? Because I've seen a lot of kids in what I do that have problems in their lives, and in many cases, it's a case where they don't do things with their parents. And it's not because the parents don't want to. In many cases, like you say, the parents have to be out working to make ends meet and so on and so forth. They need someplace else to go. They need someone else to talk to, someone else to share things with, someone they can trust. And you do provide that. And you also provide, you know, a safe environment for them too, I'm sure. That's great.
Most important,
That's great. And I know you have child care areas also, not babysitting areas, child care areas where they go through activities and so on and so forth. They develop relationships, and I think that's really good. Yeah, you know, the whole idea, the thing, well, what this has to do with, you know, the mind and the body. You can have a kid that might be a great athlete physically, but hasn't got his act together at all. And I'm sure you've seen some of those. And unfortunately, we know what happens to some of those. Some of these great athletes make it to the major leagues, and their lives fall apart. We won't name any names because the whole world knows who they are, right? You know? It makes a difference. It makes a big difference, I'm sure. And I appreciate the fact that you guys are there and you are expanding and you're looking in more areas, and you finally have merged with the girls too, because
so it's Boys and Girls Club and Family Center in Bristol. But we have an infant and toddler program, so that's where it starts. It's our early education early childhood education program. So we have that at on Upson Street in Bristol and various other locations. So and then we have the Imagination Museum.
Right.
So they do a great job at the museum. And we also have our before and after school program. So we're in a lot of the elementary schools in Bristol.
Great.
That we run some real good programs before and right after school's over. And then we have traditional Laurel Street and Cambridge Park. We're in public housing. So right in public housing.
Going to their backyard.
13 years.
Good idea. Yeah. So there are other things for kids to do except be on Facebook all day, right? That's the way it is,
Right. And what we do at the club is, some people say, don't let them go on Facebook. But we'll use it as for some kids, depending on their age, as an incentive and supervised, because we really do talk to the kids about Facebook and what's appropriate and what's not.
Good.
Because a lot of them are going to go on it anyway, so you want to.
That's right.
You want to make sure you give them the proper techniques and give them the do's and don'ts and the watch outs. Yeah.
Well, I thank you, Jay. It's great. What I want to do is I want to be able to come back with you and Chris, who was on a little earlier, and we can discuss some of the similarities in what you guys do. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. Hi, welcome back. I finally have Chris Tracy here on my left, and I have Jay on my right. You've seen them both separately. I just wanted to kind of wrap up this session because I've noticed, and I'm sure you've noticed also, a lot of similarities between what Chris's organization does and Jay's organization does. And even though they've never met each other before today, I think that you can see a lot of things that can be offered by both organizations. And I look at this because I'm from a healthcare setting in kind of like inpatient treatment here, and outpatient treatment here, or house calls over there, or clinic over here. But the ideas behind it, I think, are the same. And I just like to have you guys, if you want to do, give a few final words on what's happening and where you kind of like maybe even can do something together in the future, okay? Because I found out that a lot of places use a lot of resources, and I'm sure that, Jay said he makes referrals, and Chris would make referrals. You can't put all your eggs in one basket, and we got a couple of good baskets here, and I think that, no allusion to the basketball, but we've got a couple of good baskets here, and I think that there's a lot of help out there for kids that might have problems, or kids that you don't want to have problems, because prevention is worth, what is it? Ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Flip a coin. Which one do you want to go first? Kind of to sum up and see what's going. Go ahead.
Basically, the more agencies and the more we work together as a team, to put our kids and our communities on the right avenue for academic success, or to be responsible and caring citizens, then I think that's great. So you can't really do it alone. So good collaborations are always always important. So I talked to Chris earlier. He knows that our door is open. He's doing mentoring. We do a lot of mentoring as well in the Boys and Girls Club. So together we could make it happen. So all about the kids. It's all about our kids. So
good. This is good. Competition is good in some areas, but when it comes to healthcare, human services, I think cooperation is the key. What do you think, Christopher?
Collaboration is definitely the key. The biggest challenge that we're finding right now is really obviously just from an economic standpoint and a financial point of view, where hopefully this country will start to recognize the value of investing in youth and facilitating opportunities that can allow for collaboration.
Right. right. And also, you know, I can throw my 2 cents worth in at the end here. You know, people look for quick fixes for a lot of things. People come in, oh, just give him some medication, he'll be better, everything will be fine. Or if we just don't let him do this, you know, things will be fine. You know, you've got to look at a lot of different areas, and you've got to put a lot of things together to make things good. You do it with your family, you do it with your friends, you do it on your job. It's not just one simple task. And I think that the stuff that you have to offer, and I think the stuff that you have to offer, and many other agencies out there, I'm sure, that have to offer, you know, can be a help and to supplement what's this traditional and non-traditional type of therapy. It's a lot better to be involved in something like this before the fact than to have to get involved in something after the fact.
Right.
Because
prevention.
That's correct.
Because Chris does a lot of prevention too.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
You know.
And the thing is, people do what they want to do, not what they have to do. And I think they want to be at your facility, and I've seen that. I think they want to be in a situation that you're in, Chris, where you can do something with them and help them out. When they want to do something, they do it, okay? I have a lot of background in addiction. Take that any way you want. But if a person wants to recover from an addiction, if a person wants to make their family life better, if a person wants to deal with depression, anxiety, whatever the case may be, they have a much better chance of doing it than someone that is told this is what you have to do. And the reason I really wanted to have both you guys, and I'm glad I did here, is because you guys do things that I think the people that you serve want to do, not because they have to do it. They're not there because they're ordered to do this. It doesn't usually work that way, unfortunately.
That's a great point, because it really solidifies what I mentioned earlier, where I said that when the child develops that relationship with the mentor, and ultimately what happens is ideally the child will like the mentor, and then will want to participate and engage rather than be in a room where the child does not want to be there, which is pretty much what you're saying. And the child is participating in an activity at the Boys and Girls Club, something that the child likes to do, a recreation activity. They're out in the community with the mentor, and it serves as a forum so that child can get that informal type of therapy, if you will, as opposed to just being strictly clinical as most people understand it.
Isn't that simple? But we live in an age of instant gratification and quick fix, and it doesn't work that way. And as you say, Jay, and both of you, prevention means a lot. And sometimes people don't want to spend money on prevention, you know. But then when something goes wrong, then they'll rush around and they'll remortgage their house in order to try to do something that's different to try to solve the situation. Anyway, gentlemen, I really appreciate the fact that you're here tonight, and I look forward to working with you again in the future. Either as a clinician or just as a friend. Okay, so thank you very much, Chris.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Jay, thank you.
I say support prevention.
You got it. Thank you very much.